What's up, dude? Today I'm gonna show you one of my favorite chicken dishes I learned whilst working in restaurants, and I really love this one because it is low effort and high reward. I mean, you can literally put 10 minutes of work into this recipe and have a dinner that's gonna make people feel like they're eating out. We're making roasted chicken legs with a mustard velouté sauce, which is essentially a little bit like gravy, but more on that in a minute. There's no time to waste. Now let's go. Okay, my friends, now for starters, we are gonna be making some rosemary salt. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, it's just this herb salt we make on the channel. It's got sage, rosemary, garlic, lemon zest, and if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this salt. Just blindly trust a man on the internet who's been cooking professionally for 20 years and just listen to him. Just listen to this dude for once. Make the rosemary salt. Dude, this stuff is absolutely killer. We're gonna take a food processor and start by dumping in a whole bunch of kosher salt. And by the way, this is the brand I buy because of the coarseness of it. I've tried other kosher salt and it ends up being too fine. I'm sure you could use other salts like sea salt as well. Just make sure you're using a really coarse one. And then simply just take some rosemary, grab the top, and we're just gonna strip all those leaves off just like this, dump it in, and just repeat that process with all of your rosemary. And then same exact deal with your fresh sage here. All you're gonna do is pick those little leaves off the stem. It really is as simple as that. And now we're going in with the zest of one lemon. And by the way, watch this technique back next time you wanna zest a lemon, because it is the most efficient way to do it. I guarantee it, as you can see, straight in. And finally, just a couple cloves of fresh garlic. Now just pop a lid on it and we're gonna blend for about 1 minute. And as you do this, I always stop and just pulse a few times just to make sure it mixes evenly before returning to blending. Right about there, looks good. And it is as simple as that. You can make this whole thing in less than 5 minutes. All you need to do now is put a lid on this and stick it in the fridge. It will last for literal months. Although I do try to use this up within 2 to 3 weeks for that optimal flavor and freshness. It's good on beef, chicken, lamb, pork, even fish. It's great on salmon, root vegetables, potatoes, carrots. People put it on popcorn. It really is amazing to have around. This batch though, I made specifically for my mom who's visiting from Colorado. And here you go, Mom.
Oh my God.
She loves it. Every time we come here, she tells me she takes like all of my rosemary salt.
Yep.
So I pack it up for her.
Oh my God.
I don't know, I tell her she can make it, but she wants, it's like special if I made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So, there you go.
Thank you, Sunshine.
Yeah, love you, Mom.
I love you.
Next for this recipe, we're gonna keep it really simple because we're just gonna bake some whole chicken legs. I pieced out a whole chicken so I could make a quick stock by roasting those bones and just covering it with water and simmering for about 45 minutes. I didn't even do any onions, carrots, celery, no aromatics, nothing. Literally chicken and water, right? Because I just prefer that to using a bouillon paste. It's always gonna be better because it has that gelatin and that real chicken flavor. Having said that, if you're crunched for time, you can absolutely use bouillon and it will work. It will be delicious as well. On another note, if you wanna just bake some thighs or do some legs or roast a whole chicken, do whatever you want, right? Just the sauce is gonna work well with any of those preparations. I just hit my whole chicken legs with a little bit of rosemary salt, let them sit for about an hour so that seasoning can penetrate a little bit, and then we're just gonna blast them in a 400-degree oven for between 40 and 50 minutes, maybe even up to an hour if you had some really big legs. Mine are on the smaller side, but I'll give you that exact timing when they come out. In the meantime, let's make the sauce. Now, before we make this sauce, let me tell you about my favorite cookware company and a long-term sponsor of this channel who I'm very proud to have, Made in Cookware. And to be quite honest, I've been a loyal user of their pots and pans for years before they ever sponsored this channel, so take that for what it's worth. But just know that I find these to be essential tools when I want to produce the highest quality of food in this kitchen. And speaking of quality, that is exactly why I love Made in's cookware so much. And don't just take my word for it, there are 2,000 top-rated restaurants across the nation that use these pans. And I love that Made in partners with multi-generational factories and artisans to create products that are an absolute pleasure to use in the kitchen. And if you've ever considered switching to clean, uncoated cookware, Made in's Carbon Steel collection is a great choice. These award-winning frying pans are crafted in Sweden at a family-owned factory that has been producing carbon steel since the late 1800s. And when I think of carbon steel, I think of a perfect hybrid between cast iron and stainless steel. Because like stainless steel, they're easy to heat up and maneuver around the stove while retaining that durability and heat retention of cast iron. It's the best of both worlds. Made in's Carbon Steel products can also go from stovetop to oven and even handle an open flame up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. And personally, I use these pans mostly for proteins like beef, chicken, lamb, pork, duck, all kinds of fish. It's just gonna handle it. You can check out the Carbon Steel collection as well as Made in's other cookware by clicking the link down in the description to save on your order. Thank you, Made in, for sponsoring this channel. Now let's get back to the sauce. Now what we're gonna make here is called a mustard velouté. You can think of this sort of like gravy with that added Dijon mustard for salt and kick. And this recipe actually comes from Fallow, one of my personal favorite YouTube channels and somewhere where I go to learn. I'm a big fan of those guys. Definitely give them a follow if you haven't already. And so very simply, we're just gonna start by adding some butter into our pot. And once your butter is completely melted, go ahead and add your flour. Full recipe is gonna be in the description as always when you're watching one of my videos. And we're gonna work that in. Right now we're making a roux, pretty standard guys, okay? It's a base to a lot of sauces, it's a thickening agent, and it's handy to know how to make. And one of the major pitfalls you need to avoid when making a good roux is not cooking it long enough. I see a lot of people make roux and they just melt the flour and the butter, then they start adding whatever liquid is coming next. Could be milk, could be stock. And when you do that, you're not letting that flour properly cook off and develop flavor. It's gonna taste raw if you don't. It's not a nice flavor. You really wanna smell like this sort of almost like baked cookie kind of smell before you start adding the liquid. In this case, we're making a really light roux. I'll go 4 or 5 minutes with this, but there are some recipes where you take that roux 45 minutes, an hour, you get this dark brown roux, black Cajun roux. So there's all these various stages of roux. If you're making a Mornay or some kind of white sauce like bechamel, you don't want to put too much color on this, but if you're making like a really delicious flavor-packed beefy gravy, you want to cook that roux more. Like match the roux to the color of the stock you're cooking is a good technique. And after about 4 minutes, you can see my roux here has really darkened in color a little bit. Smells totally different. Now I'm going to turn up that heat a little bit and we're going to start adding our wine, which is just dry white wine. You could leave it out if you don't want to cook with this, straight in. And I'm switching to a whisk now, whereas before I had a spatula, because you really want to make this nice and smooth. And you'll see when you're making these sauces, you think, all right, did I screw it up right now? Nope, it always seizes up before you add enough liquid, and then finally it will loosen up. And after about 2 minutes with the wine, I'm going to start adding my chicken stock little by little. The stock is hot. I'm only adding about 1/3 at a time, and then I go back to this whisk, and you need to heat it back up before it will re-thicken. And so what I'm doing now is just really working this. If your arm doesn't hurt by the end of this, you really haven't done it right. And once it's all worked in, another 1/3, and again we return to that vigorous whisking. Just really work it. You can shake the pan while you whisk like this, that really helps. And in with the rest of our stock. We'll give that one final really good whisk. And right about there, that's looking good. Now we're just gonna keep that heat on a low simmer and just let this bubble away. And after about 5 minutes here, you can see it's really thick. For my personal preference, I'm just gonna add a little water. If you had stock, you could definitely add that. But I do wanna thin it out just a little bit. I don't like my sauces overly thick. Something like that looks good. And after about 5 minutes of simmering, just set this to the side and grab a little bowl. And we're gonna add a big old spoon of Dijon, 1 to 2 tablespoons. And then what we're gonna do here is pour over about 1/3 of our velouté, and taking a little spatula here, I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a really good mix before adding it back to the sauce. Something about Dijon and sauces, it's hard to get that properly mixed in when you just dump it straight into the sauce. So you wanna temper it in like this so you don't end up with lumps. It's a great trick, and a lot of chefs use this for a variety of purposes. So get that all straight back in, and we'll get that whisk going. We'll check again for thickness. Mine needs a little more stock. Again, if you like your sauce really thick, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There we go. And now we're gonna finish with a little splash of heavy cream. Get that nicely mixed in, and we're gonna add a whole bunch of chopped tarragon. If you've never had tarragon, it's like a licoricey sort of tasting herb. Some people love it, some people hate it. Definitely loved amongst chefs. If you don't like that licorice flavor, you can leave this out. You could use another herb in here as well. Put some rosemary, some sage, whatever you like. And last but not least, a little bit of Sergeant Gilbert reporting for duty, you legend. That is just fresh ground black pepper, my friend. Do as little or as much as you like. I'm quite a fan of pepper, as you can see, since I dressed one up and talked to it and shit like that. Give that a good mix in, and just give it one more final taste for seasoning. Considering the recipe came from Fallow, I think it's gonna be pretty good. I hold those guys to high standards. And speaking of high standards, I just spent an ungodly amount of money on high standard gaming equipment for my new gaming channel, ThatDudeCanCook. I've been a gamer since I was a little kid in the 90s. It's just something I do on the side for fun to relax. So I thought, why not turn a fun hobby into a full-time job? That's what I've done. If you're into gaming, there'll be a link in the corner as well as the description. Go and check it out, show your support. I really do appreciate it, thank you. Woo, banging. I will mention, I didn't put any salt in my chicken stock. If you have salty chicken stock, be careful about how much Dijon you add. Mine is spot on, but if I had a salty stock, I would have added 1 tablespoon of Dijon instead of like 2. Delicious. And a lot of you may know this, but whenever you make a roux-based gravy type sauce and you let it sit, it develops this sort of thick, nasty skin on top that is really hard to mix back in to make a smooth sauce again. Some people use cling film right on top, but that wastes a lot of gravy whenever you take it off. Lid doesn't quite do do the trick either. What I found best is water, but if you try to just dump water on here with a cup, it's definitely gonna sink down through that, and we need it resting on top, preventing that skin. So here's what we do. Squeeze bottle. This is such a great technique, because if you've ever made these sauces, you know. And all I'm gonna do is just spray a little bit, and what this is gonna do is just put one little layer of water on top, preventing that skin from forming. Aren't you glad you're subscribed to That Dude Can Cook so you get these kind of tips on a daily basis? Jesus, wow. And after 45 minutes here, our chicken is done. The skin is nice and crunchy on top. It's about 200 degrees in there. I really like taking legs and thighs to that temperature. It just gets so good, but anywhere from 180 to 200 is preferred. Now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove these legs for a second to rest, and we'll put our pan back on medium heat, because all this stuff in here is called fond and it is full of flavor. I'm gonna dump in about half of my velouté, and you may have noticed that the sauce looks a lot thicker now. That's just because it cooled down. As this heats up, now you're really gonna see it loosen up, and mine actually needs a touch more liquid. I'm honestly only using water right now because there's so much flavor in this. I don't wanna bring any more salt or anything like that, so just a bit of water. I'm just gonna give that one more final taste. Man, this sauce really reminds me of something. I would just say it has this restaurant taste that I absolutely love. And it's really that combo of wine, tarragon, and mustard that is making it pop. So that is absolutely delicious. Now I'm dropping my chicken legs right back in here. And I'm literally doing this because I wanna make a nice thumbnail in this pan. But of course, if you wanna go just straight on a plate, put the sauce on the side, I recommend you just puddle the sauce underneath the chicken, put the chicken on top. But otherwise, that's really all she wrote, my friends. You can serve this up with any side you want. Be great with mash, any kind of veg side, whatever you like, really. Got Marcus here to taste it with us. And by the way, that's enough sauce for like 8 chicken legs, you know? I only cooked 2 chicken legs. That's enough sauce for like 8 people easy. So
For me, that's the ratio I want with sauce.
Marcus and I both love sauce. This is our kind of dish.
Oh, nice.
Wow, very restaurant-y.
I give that 5 big stabs.
Yeah, this is banging. The sauce is just punchy, you know? Got all that Dijon. That just adds so much flavor, a little bit of spice. Lots of salt, and then the tarragon and the pepper. I mean, it's just nice sort of restaurant-y sauce. It's lifted by that white wine, makes the whole thing lighter. Overall, this is a super solid, delicious recipe. Anybody you make this for is certainly gonna be just very happy that they're your friend.
Also, tarragon, you said licoricey. Me, I wouldn't like that just from the sound of licorice, but it's really, really good. That scares you, make it still, it's mad good.
There you go. If it works, you know? And the tarragon is absolutely delicious. Make it. Thanks for watching today, my friend. And if you're a fan of written recipes, definitely check out my Master in the Making ebook that has 55 of my personal favorites linked down in the description. You'll also find the link to the gaming channel down there. And if you want to keep learning today, here's coq au vin and boeuf bourguignon, 2 more incredible, saucy, meaty recipes from my channel that I know you're gonna love. Until next time, you know I love you and I'm out.